We hear from the Persians who are gone to the land of Greece are called the faithful, and guardians of the palace with its great wealth and gold, in accord with our seniority, Lord Xerxes himself, the king, the son of Darius, chose us to watch over the land. As to the king's return and his armies with its many men, my heart is already flayed raw within me. All too prophetic of disaster, for the whole might of Asia's people is gone. Noising anxiety for the young man, no messenger or any horseman comes to the Persians' capital.
And those men who left Susa and the deserts of Persia and ancient cities behind them, and went some on horses, some on ships, and those on foot making war's dense column as they marched, men such as Amistris, Atrabanes, Megabates and Megastron, the Persians' captains, kings subject to the great king. They hastened as overseers of the army's host. They were invincible, and mounted archers, fearsome to see and terrible in battle. Through their spirits' brave confidence, the knights of our horse and the cavalry marshal too.
Others went sent from the Nile, the great nourisher of many lives. Pegason, born in Egypt, and great Artemis, the ruler of sacred Memphis and ancient Thebes. We marched dwellers at the ship-skilled horsemen, in masses beyond number.
Soft-living Lydians follow in a multitude, those who hold subject, all the mainland peoples, who Mithridates and brave kings and governors. And Sardis, with all its gold, sent off riding in many chariots, squadroned by 4 or 6 horses, a fearsome sight to behold.
Eager in their threats to throw slavery's yoke upon Greece are those living near sacred Tmolus, Mardon and anvils against the spear, with javelin men from Mysia and Babylon with all its gold, sends a multitude, all mixed in a long sweeping column, with marine soldiers and men confident of their archery.
The sword-bearing peoples of all Asia follow with them at the king's dread summons. Such is the number of men that have left Persia's land, which the whole region of Asia nurtured. She sighs in fierce longing, their wives and children count the days and tremble at the time's lengthening.
By now it has passed, the army of the king, city sackers over the strait to our hateful neighbour, crossing the sea on a raft bridge roped with flax, a royal road made with many nails, a yoke thrown around the ocean's neck.
Furious for war, the ruler of Asia's many people drives his enormous flock against every land from 2 directions, trusting the command by land and sea to his loyal lieutenants, descendant of a golden line, a man born the equal of God.
There's a bleak gleam in his eye. Kicking up dust and the fallen death, his speedy Syrian surged on. Against men renowned with spear, he brings the war of invincible bows.
No one could ever withstand the great tide of men and hold it back with sure defences. One cannot fight a sea of men. There is no resisting the Persian horde, a people that splinter towers and overturn cities.
They learn to cross the sea's domain, the broad paths of the ocean, whitened by fierce gales, cunning deceit by our God, which no mortal man can flee and escape.
And yet Susa's great capital, the city of cities for the king of kings, is emptied of her brothers, fathers and sons. My mind wears mourning black, and my heart is lacerated with its fear.
The townsfolk of the entire world, too, fear and sing in thudding lamentation. Their daughters, sisters, wives beat the earth and tear their dresses and fall upon empty Asia's soil.
All the army, horsemen riding and infantry marching, has left and gone like bees in a swarm with the commander of the host. It has made its crossing over the headland, where the 2 worlds are linked by a common sea.
Marriage beds are cold and filled with longing for their husbands. Persian wives softly weep each other's yearning for their men. She sent off a husband, furious for war, and now is left alone in her marriage. Come then, Persians, let us be sat at this ancient chamber and offer sound our hearts and worship. But does King Xerxes fare, and our race, master of land and sea?
Has our victory come from the bow and shaft, or does the Greek and his spear hold mastery? The need has come.
approaching in godlike light is the king's mother, our queen. I bow myself before her, and all must address her with words of greeting.
Oh, our queen, supreme among deep-girdled Persian women, revered mother of Xerxes, wife of Darius, greetings upon you. You were the bedmate of a god among the Persians, and mother of a god too, unless our army's ancient fortune has now changed.
The very reason I have come here and left the gold-decked palace and the bedchamber which I and Darius shared, and my anxiety tears apart my heart. I have a story to tell you, and I'm not without fear, my friends, that great wealth may kick the ground into dust and overturn the prosperity which Darius raised high. There is this twofold inexpressible concern in my mind, that the riches of our land should not be held with any honour when it is emptied of men, nor should blessings fall upon those without riches. Wealth itself is without blame, but there can be fear in our obsession, for I consider the presence of our Lord to be its saving light. This being so, please advise me, you Persians, faithful elders, about what I now have to say, for it is on you that all our safe resolutions depend.
Be sure of this, Queen of our land. Ye mention nothing twice, we shall give you a willing lead. You're inviting us to help counsel you, and you have our goodwill in these matters.
Many nighttime dreams have been my company, ever since my son armed for war and has been gone, and has wished to sack the Ionians' land. But I never yet saw any such dream as that of last night. I will tell it to you. 2 women in fine clothing, one in Persian dress and the other in Greek, appeared before me, both of them far superior in grace and faultless in beauty, and sisters of the same descent. One lived in Greece as her fatherland, the other hailed from the east. I thought I saw these 2 quarrelling with each other, and my son had learned of it and was trying to restrain and calm them, putting the both of them in his chariot and placing a yoke over their heads. The first stood tall and proud before him and kept her mouth submissive to the reins. The other struggled and tore the chariot apart with her hands, wrenching all the way violently, getting free of the bridle and smashing the yoke through the middle, and my son was thrown. His father Darius stands by in pity for him, and when my son sees him, he tears the robes from his body. This is what I saw in the night. After I had risen and put my hands in spring water, I stood at an altar, sacrifice in hand. I wished to pour an offering to the powers that be. I saw an eagle fleeing to Phoebus' altar, and I stood speechless in fear. Later, I saw a hawk swooping to attack it in a rush of wings, gouging at its head with its talons, but the eagle only cowered and gave over its flesh. These are the frightening things I saw, and to you I tell them, but be certain of this. Were my son to succeed, he would still be admired. His crown would remain intact. But were he to return defeated, he is no longer of this land, and doom will stalk his tracks.
We have no wish, our Queen and Mother, to alarm you by what we say or to embolden you too much either. But when you approach the gods in supplication, if you see anything foul, ask them to avert it, for your sake and that of the house and city.
Next, you should have libations poured to the earth and to the dead. Ask their favour that your husband Darius, whose ghost you saw in the night, may send good fortune for you and your son up from the underworld into the light, and that wickedness may be kept in the earth and extinguished in darkness. My heart is my prophet here, and I encourage you out of kindness. Our final judgment is this: no wickedness will choke Persia in any way.
Goodwill indeed, I pray. You have judged your firm reading for my son and house. May the omen be no way foul. We should arrange all this, as you urge, for the gods and for our dear ones, buried beneath the earth, when we reach the palace. Yet I have a wish to learn from you, my friends, this: where do men say that Athens stands upon the earth?
Far away, near where Mithra goes down when he crosses the sky.
And yet my son desires to capture the city.
Yes, for then all of Greece would become subject to the king.
How great a number does the Athenian troops stand?
Much of a fighting force that subdued the Medes to the north.
And what else do they have? Sufficient wealth for their houses.
They have a source of silver, a load of which is their land's treasure.
Are bows and sharp arrows prominent in their hands?
Not at all. They use spears to stand and fight and carry shields and heavy armour.
And who is set over their people, a shepherd and master?
They call themselves no man's slaves or subjects.
Then how would they withstand the enemies who go against them?
Enough to destroy Darius's great and splendid army.
The words you say frighten me. As queen and mother to the Persian race, these men, they are an anxiety for the families of those who go against them.
But I think you will soon know the truth from a report. This man's stride marks him clearly as Persian, and he brings some definite outcome to hear about, good or bad.
Cities of all Asia, O you land of Persia, great harbour of wealth, one blow has destroyed your great prosperity, and the youth of the Persians is fallen and gone. O gods, it is bad to be first with bad news. I must unfold the entire disaster. Men of Persia, the East's entire host is lost.
Harsh news, harsh, both sudden and cruel. Weep, you Persians, now you hear this woe.
I did not myself expect to live to see the day of my return.
Our lives seem somehow too long-lived. Our race is old, our empire mighty, and yet we fell. I was there, you men of Persia. I did not hear others' accounts. The kinds of disaster that were brought on us. Useless! All that great and mighty weaponry that went from Asia to attack Zeus's land, the land of Hellas.
The corpses of our men, destroyed in a wicked fate, fill the shores of Salamis and all the nearby places. Our friends' sea-battered bodies, awash in death, are carried adrift in their doubled-over mantles.
Yes. For our archery was not enough, and the whole host was destroyed, overcome by ramming ships. Lament, raise a cry of despair. In deepest grief for Persian friends, since the gods have dealt us total ruin all round, our army destroyed.
Oh, the name of Salamis! Most hateful to hear how I groan in remembering Athens. Yes, hateful she is to her enemy. Scarred by her we are, since she has robbed so many Persian mothers of sons, of husbands, of brothers.
I have long been wretchedly silent, dismayed by cruelty and losses. For this disaster is extreme, its pain beyond telling or asking. Despite your grief at our defeat, stay and unfold the whole of our pain. Who has not been killed, which of our people's leaders shall we weep for?
Xerxes is alive. He walks the land of the living.
My son lives, but to his people yet still. Or does hunger and the stench of death circle our father's legacy?
Artembares, however,
that marshal of numberless cavalry, is being dashed against the hard shores of Attica. And another, the commander of 1,000 men, was struck by a spear and plunged from his ship in helpless fall. Tenegon, too, so brave, drifts along Ajax's sea-beaten island.
Pharnicus's torn flesh beats the rock-hard crag, his body shredded by broken and shattered bones. And Metellus, commander of 10,000, drenched his great black beard fiery red when killed, a bath of crimson dyeing his face's colour. And Magus, too, like others before, died there as a foreigner to a cruel land. And a mistress who brought mourning to great Sardis now lies rotting and fixed upon a spear wielded by Greek hands. And Sesames, a handsome man loved by Persians, rocks miserably dead in the bloody waters of the Aegean Sea.
That much I recount about the commanders. But of our cruel losses, I report to too few.
What I hear is the very height of evil disaster, both shame and shrill wailing for the Persians. Go back again. Tell me this. Just how large was the number of Greek ships attacking our sons in the Persian fleet?
Number, you must know that the Persians would have been superior. The Greeks' entire number came to 300. Xerxes, on the other hand, amassed 1,000 ships under his command. We can't seem to you to be inferior in battle, can we? Yet some divine power destroyed our host, weighing the scale to unbalance fortune. The gods, they have kept her city safe for Pallas, its goddess.
Then is the Athenian city still not ransacked?
Yes! For while its men live, its wall is secure.
Now tell me, what began the ship's engagement? Who started the battle? Was it the Greeks or my son, so prideful in his massive ships?
The beginning of the whole disaster, my queen, was an avenging spirit or evil power which ascended from the shades. For one of the Greeks left his host and told your son Xerxes this, that if black night's darkness once came, the Greeks would not stay. They would leap onto their rowing boats and scatter in unseen flights to save their lives.
Immediately, he heard this, and with no comprehension of the Greek man's trickery or the gods' jealous anger, he made this proclamation to all his ship's commanders. Once the sun stopped burning the earth with its rays, and night cloaked the sky, every master of the oar would strike the water's great surface. But the Greeks made no attempt to flee to safety. And when daylight kissed our faces one last time, the Greeks cried out in song, its echo resounding piercingly off the island's cliffs, and fear was in each of the Persians now their judgment had proved wrong. It was their victory hymn. The trumpet set all ablaze with its call, and they cried out these words.
O sons of the Greeks, push on! Free your fatherland! Free your children! Your wives! The altars of your paternal gods! And the tombs of your ancestors!
Then from our side a clamour in the Persian tongue rose up in answer, and the flames of battle were set alight. At once ship struck bronze ram against ship, the onslaught began. The Greeks broke off Phoenician ornate sterns and tore down hearty sails. At first, the Persian fleet's flowing advance held on. But when a mass of vessels drove us in all directions, all cries for help were desolate. The Greek ships circled us knowingly and struck us with cruel brutality.
The hulls were overturned and the salty waters of the sea were no longer visible as it filled with the wreckage and slaughter of men.
The shores of Attica teemed with corpses.
It was then that every ship of the Persian fleet began rowing in disorderly flight, while the Greeks struck our men and broke their backs with splintered oars and fragments of wreckage. Groans and shrieking together took over the wide sea, till black night's eye made them an end. The full count of our losses, had I 10 days to wring out my sorrowful heart, I could not give you in full.
Never have so many bodies floated dead upon Salamis' shores.
A great sea of disaster has broken upon the Persians and their whole people.
And know this too, the disaster was not yet over. Such catastrophe and loss came upon them as to outweigh it in misery twice over.
But what misfortune could still be crueler than this? Tell me, what was this catastrophe you say came upon the host, inclining the scale to our heavier loss?
All the Persians in their natural prime, those finest in courage and most eminent in nobility, and ever first in loyalty to the king himself,
They all been nobly killed in a most inglorious fate.
I suffer at this evil disaster. How did these men meet their death, you say, and were killed?
there is an island lying off this place on Salamis. Xerxes sent those men there so that whenever the enemy had wrecked their ships and sought refuge on that island, the Persians would find them and cut them down where they stood. Xerxes' study of the future proved so badly wrong. For when the gods gave glory in the ship's battle to the Greeks, they had clad their bodies in fine bronze armor. They circled the entire island and leapt from their ships. Our men were battered by hand-thrown rocks, their bodies pelted by arrows loose from bows, their flesh gored by lightning speed metal. At last the Greeks came upon them in one final surge and struck them down, butchering the poor wretches' limbs until they had destroyed the lives of all.
Xerxes groaned aloud on seeing the depth of our horror, for he had a clear view of the desolation unfolding upon us. He tore his robes, keening and wailing, then passed word at once to his infantry, who retreated in disorderly flight.
There, such is the disaster, one to mourn in addition to the one before.
Hateful deity! You cheated the Persians out of their wits! A bitter outcome my son found to his vengeance upon famous Athens! The Persians who Marathon killed were not enough! It was for them my son thought to exact penalty. But he drew on himself so many painful losses. Tell me, those who escaped destruction, where did you leave them? Do you know a clear account to give me?
The commanders of our men, the captains of our ships, hastily took to flight in no good order. The rest of our army was destroyed in the Boeotians' land, some despairing of thirst near fine spring water, Aye, others met a more merciful death as they choked upon bone-dry tongues. In exhaustion, we crossed into Phokis, the territory of Doris and the Malayan Gulf. There, the soil of the Achaeans' land dried up and refused us food and drink.
Very many died of bone-dry hunger, thinking of home.
We reached the land of Magnesia, in Macedonian's country. Its reedy marshes and mountain springs and hope for rest. But in the night, a god stirred winter into coming out of season and froze Holy Strym's entire stream. Those who before had held the gods of no account then began entreating them in prayer, falling to revere earth and heaven as we saw certain death before our eyes. The army started to cross where the ice was frozen solid. Those who left during the night made it to safety. But as the sun gleamed and burned, it melted our crossing. Men crushed on top of one another, plunging into the water, gasping for life before their lifeless bodies floated amongst the reeds.
They died cold and alone.
The land of Persia is to mourn. Her homes will be empty, and her family is destitute, and her youth unburied in a foreign land. Long for your country's dearest youth.
This is the truth. I tell you with quivering limbs. If only I could render the evil blows dealt to the Persians.
Oh, you deity, so harsh in afflicting us, too heavy your feet in leaping on the whole Persian race.
I suffer for our army's destruction. The visions in my dreams at night, they revealed this disaster to me. You judged it too lightly! But I shall follow your advice. I am willing to pray, first to the gods, and then as gifts to the earth and to the dead. I shall come from my house to pour an offering over what is past and done. I know it will be, but in case there is something better for the future. And as to my son, if he comes here before me, console him and escort him to the palace, so that he may add no further woe to the woes we have.
King, you have destroyed the Persians' host. In its great pride and numbers of men, the city of Susa and Ecbatana you have hidden in the gloom of our mourning. Many other women tearing their veils apart. Wet tears soak the folds on their breast as they share their pain.
Softly weeping, Persian wives miss their husbands newlywed. Marriage beds soft with coverings, the joy of sensual youth they have put away. They mourn in insatiable grief.
So now, Asia's entire land mourns aloud. Emptied of his men! Xerxes took them! Xerxes destroyed them!
eternal destruction Ionian hand. Our Lord and King himself barely made his escape, scurrying across Thracian plains, their ways bitter cold, with stinging eyes.
Now, these men were overtaken by their fate of dying first at the shores of cruel Attica. Begin your grief, and let the hurt bite, cry a deep voiced sorrow high to the heaven, and prolong your harsh sounding tones loud with wretchedness.
Rocked on, dreadfully in the sea, their bodies are gnawed by the voiceless monsters of the undefiled sea. A house mourns when bereft of its man, orphan children wailing their sorrow. They wonder when father will return, not knowing our absolute loss.
But the people throughout Asia's land are no longer ruled by Persia, and no longer pay tribute on a master's compulsion, nor will they prostrate themselves under rule. The power of our king has been quite destroyed.
Bloodshed, staining the ploughland, the weave dashed island of Ajax was what once Persia was.
My friends, anyone with real experience of trouble knows that when it creeps upon them, they are quick to fear everything. But when fortune's tide is good, they trust that the same breeze will blow favorably forever. So it is with me. Everything now is full of fear. The god's hostility is clear, and there is a cry of injury and remorselessness wailing in my ears. Such shock from our troubles tortures my mind. I come with you with my body bare of dress and finery, and instead libations to win the favour of my son's father. Milk sweet and white, pure bright honey, and water of the virgin spring. I bring the delight from the ancient vine, the pale olive full of life, and woven flowers, children of earth, who is mother to all. Come, my friends, please, speak and sing good words over these libations to the dead. Call up the god Darius. I shall offer these honours to the gods below, for the earth to drink deeply.
Royal Lady, Persian Majesty, send your libation down to the deep underworld, while we entreat the escort of the death with hymns to be candy below the earth.
You holy underworld powers, earth and Hermes and king of those below, send up the spirit of Darius from beneath into the light. For if he knows any further cure to its troubles, he alone of mortals might tell their end. Oh dear, departed king, equal to God! Hear me! My passion was ugly, utter, enchanted, doleful, lament my absolute grief and sorrow. I shall cry aloud. Is he hearing me from below?
I entreat you, earth, and rulers of the dead, approve the coming of this proud spirit up from your house. The god born at Susa, escort him upward like one who Persian soil is not yet covered.
This man, this god, a dear man, dear in his tomb, for dear was the nature it hides. Adonius, send her up to earth. Adonius, send us up our godlike lord, Darius!
For neither would he ever lose men to death in war's mad and killing ruin, but the Persians called his mind godlike, and of godlike mind he was, since he led his armies well.
My Shah of old, come to us, draw near, mount your tomb's high summit, step up with your foot saffron-dyed slipper, display your royal tiara's crest. Come, our father in safety, Darius!
Hear of our fresh and sudden sorrow! Master, oh master, appear! For a Stygian mark hangs over us now, for the youth of Asia has been destroyed! Come, our father, in safety! Darius! Oh, sorrow, sorrow! Your death so much lamented by your friend! Why? Why, my master, my master? Why do we suffer these double grievous
faithful among the faithful. Companions of my youth. Persian elders, what labor weighs down upon this land? Its soil groans, it has been stricken, and it is furrowed. I see my wife near my tomb. I am afraid, but I received her libations with favor, and you stand close by the tomb, lamenting and wailing high to summon up my spirit and calling on me piteously. There is no easy way from below the earth, since the gods there are better at taking than releasing. Yet still with my authority I have bargained my brief release, and I have come. Hurry, I wish not to be blamed for delay. Well, what is the Persians' unexpected and heavy disaster?
I am in awe to see you. I am in awe to speak to your face.
But since I have come from below at the pleas of your lament, make no speech at length, but be concise. Tell me everything to its end, and leave aside your reverence for me.
I am in fear to please you. I'm in fear to say to your face what is so hard for friends to tell.
Your mind's ancient fear stands in your way. You, ancient bride, noble wife, leave off these tears and lamentations. Speak to me quite clearly. As human suffering befalls mankind, of course, much woe comes to mortal men from the sea, and much from dry land, if men live beyond their determined end.
Oh, you, O king, who surpassed all mankind in fortune and destiny. How you were envied while you saw the rays of the sun, and ruled through years happy for the Persians. So now too I envy you, your death, before you saw the depths of our troubles. You shall hear the whole story, Darius. Total ruin for the fortunes of the Persians.
What way? Did some plague come to strike this city, or our princes feuding?
Not that at all. Our whole host has been destroyed near Athens.
Which of my sons was leading the host there? Tell me!
Xerxes. Furious for war, he emptied the entire continent's whole expanse of its men.
Was it on land or by sea that he made this foolish attempt?
Both. The Earth's armies attempted on both fronts.
But how? How did so great a host on foot actually succeed in crossing?
He devised a yoke for the Hellespont to find a way across.
And he achieved that. He closed the great Bosporus.
Indeed so. For one of the gods must have joined in his resolve.
It was some great god who came, alas, to have made my boy's mind unsound.
Yes. The disastrous outcome of his actions is yet to be seen.
But you lament our men. What did they actually do?
The destruction of our forces on sea doomed our forces on land.
Have all of Asia's youth fallen so completely in war?
Enough for Susa's entire city to groan for its emptiness of
No!
And the Bactrians too are lost. Their people all destroyed. None survived.
Wretched boy! To have lost such allies in their prime!
Lonely and desolate, they say, with few companions. Xerxes!
What is the end of it for? And where? My son, is he safe at all?
He was glad to reach a bridge yoking the two lands.
And he has come safely to this continent. Is this true?
Yes, as it was narrated to us by a messenger. A man closer to the dead than the living.
Swiftly indeed came the oracle's accomplishment. And Zeus launched the prophecy's fulfillment upon my son. As I was confident myself that the gods would fulfill them after a lengthy time. But when a man exposes himself to fate, the god takes notice. Here and now, woe spills its guts onto me, and those dear to me, they choke on its gore. Xerxes, my son, achieved this in the ignorance of rash youth, in his hopes to contain the flow of sacred Hellespont, with bonds like a slave, prosperous the divine stream. Immortal man, he thought to master all the gods, and Poseidon with them. A foolish boy, a sickness of the mind possessed my son. I fear the enormous wealth I gathered for Persia may soon be plunder for the first men who come.
The company of wicked men has been Xerxes' teacher here. In his fury for war, they whispered in the boy's ear that you brought great wealth to your children with your spear, but that he was weak and made no increase in his father's prosperity. When he heard such vile poison, he planned this path of destruction against Greece.
He carried his pride to the extreme. Something burned into the flesh of our minds. Susa has never been emptied of its men from the time when Lord Zeus bestowed us this honor for one man to rule all of Asia and hold the scepter of lordship. Medeus was the first of these people, who passed it next to his son, whose good sense steered his heart. Third was Cyrus, a man blessed by God, whose rule brought peace to the nations of Asia. Oh, he ruled the Lydian and the Phrygian peoples and ravaged all of Ionia by force. This God was not his enemy, for he was good at heart. Mardis. Mardis, a disgrace to the fatherland and ancient throne. He once ruled this land, but he was killed by noble Atraphranes, and then soon after I ruled this land. But the lots fell for me exactly as I wanted. I made many campaigns with a great host. But I did not bring so large a disaster upon the city. Xerxes, my son, is young, and he has a young man's rash thinking. He does not remember my instructions. For be very sure of this, my old companions. Of all of us who have held this God-given power, none could be shown to have done so much harm than him.
Lord Darius, what consequence turns upon your words? How in light of this should our Persian people still act for the best?
Do not campaign into the Greeks' country, not even if the Median army may be greater. Their land itself is their ally.
What do you mean? In what way their ally?
Because it kills those who are too numerous through famine.
But we shall send out a well-equipped and chosen army, you may be sure.
But the army, which has now remained in parts of Greece, will meet with no safe return either.
How do you mean? It is not the whole Persian army to cross the Hellespont from Europe.
Only a few still walk alive. If one is to have any trust in divine prophecies anymore, they are coming true, not some, but all of them. Yet Xerxes has been persuaded by empty hopes to leave behind a chosen number of his army. They remain desperately fighting off hunger by eating the bark of trees and dried grass under the baking sun. The worst disasters are waiting there for them to suffer, an atonement for their godless thinking. These men went to the lands of Greece and had no scruple
in plundering statues of the gods or in burning temples. Altars have disappeared and holy shrines have been uprooted from their foundations. For their evil, they suffer no less and are doomed for more. So great will be the clotting blood from slaughter by Dorian spears. So great will be the heaps of headless corpses declaring voicelessly to the eyes of man that no man must set his thoughts too high. Arrogance has harvested all of our tears. Arrogance has ground our youth to a pulp. Such is his reward here. See it. Remember Athens and Greece. Let no man despise his present fortune and pour away great prosperity in desiring something more. Zeus, he looms over thoughts which are too boastful as their punisher. He is a severe judge. Correct my son with your words, lest he burns this earth with his desire for more bloodshed. And now you, loving mother of the king, go into the shade of our house. Fetch fine clothing and go to meet your son. Tatters of his embroidered garments, they hang in torn shreds around his body, wholly from grief at his disaster. Soothe him kindly with your words, for I know he will bear to listen to you alone. I must leave you. I must leave all of you and return into earth's darkness. Such disaster laid out before me, it makes me tremble and fear. But nobody is coming to save you. Show the spirits what honor you have left. Wealth is of no use to the dead.
It was truly painful for me to hear of the many evil blows the Persians have already, and those still destined.
Oh, you deity! Such grave pain comes over me at our troubles. Yet this disaster bites home now that I have learned of the indignity which surrounds my son, torn from the garments on his body. I will go and fetch fine clothing from the house and try to meet my son, for I will not betray my dearest amid this grief.
Oh, RP and I, we had once enjoyed a good life in well-ordered cities when our king of old, all sufficient, safe in his cause, safe from defeat, godlike Darius ruled in the land.
In the first place, the armies we displayed were as famous as the gods themselves, strong as towers in their formations. For every venture their return from war was without harm, without toil, safe to the warmth of their homes. How many cities he took without crossing, like those neighboring Strymon in the Thracian northern settlements.
And away from the sea was an arid places with walls driven round that obeyed this lord. And those proud in their sights by Hellas' broad straits, with the inward rivers, and Pontus' mouth, and the wave-dashed islands near the sea, which sit closely by our continent, such as Lesbos and Samos, rich in olives, Chios and Paros, Naxos, Mykonos, and Temnos adjoining Andros, its neighbor.
And he ruled those islands near the mid-coast. Lemnos and the seat of Icarus, Rhodes and Cnidus, Cyprus with its cities, Paphos and Soli, also Salamis, whose mother city now causes this great sorrow, and the populous rich cities of the Greeks. Throughout the Ionian territories, he ruled in his wisdom. Untiring strength was to hand in his armed men, and his allies mingling with all nations. Yet now, in our wars, we endure this will, reversed indisputably by heaven.
A great defeat through the blows at sea!
Oh, it is my misery to have met this hateful destiny, beyond comprehension. How ruthlessly has destruction come down upon the Persian race. What am I to do, poor wretch? The strength in my limbs is undone. I look hopelessly at my withered countrymen. If only my flesh had coughed up my organs, and death had cleaved me from the battlefield, so that I too may rest with my allies and friends.
This was our brave army, the high glory of Persian rule and the splendid men whom the god has now culled. The land bewails its native youth, slain for Xerxes, who crammed the bowels of hell with Persians. For many heroes are gone to Hades. They were the flower of this land, archers supreme, a densely massed company of men. They have all perished.
They lie mangled, alone!
Oh, grieve, grieve for their fine strength. King of our country, Asia's land has been bent terribly, terribly to its knees.
Here I am. Alas, to be wept for, poor wretch. I became an evil thing, I now know, for house and fatherland.
As greeting on your return, I shall utter the cry of ill omen, the voice which makes disaster its concern. A banshee, a dirge singer's song, grown rotten with many tears.
Pour out your lament, all of sorrow, grief's voice, for my fortune in this affair has turned itself round and plunged itself into me.
Oh, I shall pour out grief, quite certainly, paying tribute to our army's defeat and the land's heavy blow at sea, the house of your father. I shall wail a grief singer's cry, all heavy tears.
The Ionians' warfare robbed us of our lives. The Ionians' armoured ships turned the battle their way, culling the death dark sea on that unlucky shore.
Cry out our loud grief and learn all we may. Where are the others, your close defenders? Where are our multitude of friends? Where are Mistries, Mithridates, Artemis, and Sesames? Did they march home with you, ashamed, or did you leave them to die, alone and afraid?
I left them behind me, dead on the shores of Salamis. Many of them lost overboard from a Tyrian ship, striking on the hard, rocky shore.
Cry out loud grief. Where, if you know it, are Pharnacus and the brave Babylonians, Pharandakes, our highborn Elias, Memphis and Mesistratus? Where are our friends? Our countrymen, I put such questions again!
Oh, they have my grief! After seeing that hated ancient Athens, they clung to the earth, dragging with them gashed flesh and dismembered limbs. On that fateful plain, poor wretches, they gasped their lives away.
You mean the choicest flower of the Persians, your always faithful watching eye, who put numbers to men beyond count? Beyond count. These youth of Asia, the favorite children of the people of the world, you left them. You left them to die on these shores. You tell of woe. Total woe for our noble Persians.
I do yearn for my fine companions. You stir that up when you speak of that lasting, hateful, utter evil. My heart deep within me cries out.
And there are others too, whom we long for, like Xanthes, who captained Mardi and men beyond count. Also Arian, Ancares, Diaxes, Asarches, the lords of horsemen. I am in amazement, all amazement, that they do not walk behind your tented carriage.
Yes, those who are leading our host are gone.
They are gone, leaving nothing.
I grieve and lament.
Alas, you guys, you brought disaster we did not expect. And so very viscerally do we see the clutches of death. Such was the look we had from absolute ruin.
Struck down, alas, from lifelong fortune, our people hemorrhaged their youth and nobility.
Struck indeed, your defeat hangs above us.
In sudden torment.
War has been cruel to Persia's people.
For sure, but my host was so great, it is cruel that I was struck down.
But what is not lost? You, great victim in our ruin!
You see, This remnant of my clothing, and this arrow holder.
What is this you say has been saved?
And my treasure store of weapons.
Few things, though, from so many.
And I lack men to support me.
The young folk do not flee battle.
They are too warlike. I have seen a harsh blow I could not have expected.
The rout of our fleet, you mean? Our strongly armoured ships?
I tore my robes as this evil fell upon my kingdom.
Oh, alas, oh, alas.
No, I suffer more and more.
Yes, for us, twofold and threefold.
This grief, but delight for our foes.
Yes, our strength was shorn away.
And I am stripped of attendance.
In ruinous defeats of our friends at sea.
Weep at the blow, but go to the palace.
Oh, at the last, the top,
Cry out then, in loud response to me.
It is this woe's gift of woe to woe.
Wail for the youth of Persia.
Heavy, grievous is this disaster, and as my heart wrenches with suffer.
Beat at your breast and lament for my sake.
My eyes are wet, I'm in tears and sorrow.
Cry out then, in loud response to me.
Oh my God, but this is here.
Raise your voice high then, in tears.
Sorrow's blackness will be mingled, alas, in the beating of our lament.
Strike at your breast and cry out.
Oh, pain, oh, deep pain.
And ravage the white hair on your head.
Ceaselessly, in absolute sorrow.
And tear at your skin, pale and distraught.
Ceaselessly, endlessly, wholly in sorrow.
And wet your eyes with tears.
God, he weeps.
Cry out then, in loud response to me.
Oh, I grieve.
There is much grief to be had, but we must enter the palace. I have wept in the streets of this city for long enough, and now I must take refuge under my great house.
Our Lord, what are we to do?
I cannot lead you. I cannot guide you, except in the morning of Persia's youth, cold and dead, without a future to be had.
Persians. Oh, Persians, those who will never return home.